Something just landed inside a parliamentary report that could quietly reshape support for thousands of people approaching retirement, and most of them have no idea it's even being discussed. Right now, a group of MPs is pushing the government to change how people are supported in the gap years before their state pension actually begins, and if this moves forward, it could directly affect your income. Let's start with what is actually happening, because this story has been building quietly for a little while now. The state pension age in the UK is currently in the middle of a phased increase, moving from 66 up to 67, with that transition beginning this year and reaching full implementation within the next couple of years. If you were born between May 6th and June 5th of 1960, you now need to wait an extra month beyond your 66th birthday before you can claim. If you were born between June 6th and July 5th of that same year, the wait extends to 2 months. And this pattern keeps stretching, birth cohort by birth cohort, until anyone born from March 6, 1961 onwards has a state pension age of a full 67 years. Now, on the surface, that might sound like a fairly standard, well-telegraphed policy change. But here's where things start to get serious. A cross-party parliamentary committee, the Work and Pensions Committee, has just published a report specifically examining this transition, and their findings paint a picture that's far more urgent than most people realize. The committee found that people aged 60 to 65, the exact group caught in this transition gap, experienced the highest poverty rates of any adult age group over 24. Let that sit for a moment. Not the highest among older people. The highest among all adults over 24, full stop. And this is what most people are not being told clearly enough. As the state pension age climbs, more and more people in that 66-year-old bracket are being pushed toward relying on working age benefits like universal credit, simply to bridge the gap while they wait to qualify for their pension. But here's the problem the committee identified. Universal credit was never designed with this specific group in mind. Right now, those approaching state pension age who fall into this gap receive just £425 a month through the standard universal credit rate, despite very often dealing with declining health, reduced capacity to work, and fewer realistic paths back into employment at that stage of life. Stay with me, because this next part is where the actual proposal comes in. The committee's report, titled The Transition to State Pension Age Report, is directly urging ministers to boost universal credit payments specifically for this affected age group, 66-year-olds caught in the widening gap, as an interim measure while the government works out longer-term support arrangements. Their recommendation is for the government to consult on these proposed changes with the explicit aim of having something in place by the end of this year. This isn't a vague, someday maybe idea. There's an actual timeline being pushed here, and it's happening now, in real time, as this report circulates through Parliament. But wait, it gets even more layered than that, because this proposal isn't emerging in isolation. It's landing at the same time as a separate, and arguably just as important, development. The DWP has also been sending letters directly to millions of people affected by the state pension age changes, and alongside that, the department has publicly acknowledged, in fairly blunt terms, that its communication around the state pension has not always landed the way it should. That's a notable admission. Retirement specialists reacting to this have called it a clear acknowledgement of a real problem, but they've also cautioned that better letters alone won't fix everything, because so many people don't start seriously thinking about their retirement finances until much later in life, by which point their options have already narrowed considerably. Now, this could affect your future in ways you didn't expect, especially if you're anywhere close to that transition age bracket yourself, or if you have a parent, a partner, or a sibling sitting right in that 60 to 65 window. If this universal credit boost does move forward, it could mean meaningfully more support during exactly the years when people in this group are the most financially exposed, right as they're waiting for a state pension that keeps arriving later than it used to. And if it doesn't move forward, understanding that the current support level sits well below what many campaigners consider adequate is still valuable information, because it tells you just how important it is to plan carefully for that specific gap window rather than assuming benefits alone will comfortably carry you through it. And just when people think they finally understand the full picture, they often miss one more key detail buried inside the same story. Age UK, one of the country's most prominent charities for older people, has already publicly welcomed the committee's findings, with the charity's director specifically stating that far too many people approaching state pension age find themselves in a genuinely difficult financial position. When a major advocacy organization responds that directly and that quickly to a parliamentary report, it's usually a signal that this issue has real momentum behind it, not just polite acknowledgement destined to sit quietly on a shelf somewhere. Let's talk about why all of this actually matters beyond the politics of it. For someone sitting right in that transition window, watching their state pension age creep further away while their savings, their health, and their ability to keep working all move in the opposite direction, this isn't an abstract policy debate. It's the difference between having a genuine financial bridge to lean on or being left to stretch a support payment that was never designed for someone in their mid-60s dealing with reduced capacity to work. That's exactly why this proposal carries real weight, and exactly why it's worth understanding now, rather than only hearing about it after decisions have already been finalized. So let's move into how this could actually play out from here, because I want to leave you with something practical, not just the headline. If you or someone close to you was born after 1960 and is approaching what used to be a straightforward 66-year-old pension milestone, the first step is figuring out your exact new state pension age based on your specific birth month, since the transition applies differently depending on precisely when you were born. The second step is watching for correspondence directly from the DWP, since they have already confirmed they're proactively writing to those affected, and that letter will contain personalized information relevant to your specific situation. The third step, and this is the one most people skip, is checking your current entitlement to universal credit or other working age support if you find yourself in that gap period before your pension begins. Because even under current rules, before any proposed boost takes effect, some support may already be available to you that you haven't claimed. It's also worth watching how this consultation develops over the coming months, since the committee's own timeline points toward the government responding with the aim of having something in place before the end of this year. That means any real changes to universal credit rates for this group could start taking shape well before your next state pension age milestone even arrives, which makes staying updated over the next few months genuinely worthwhile rather than something to check back on much later. Here's what I want you to take away from everything we've covered today. The state pension age transition from 66 to 67 is already underway, and it's creating a real, measurable gap for people caught in the middle of it, a gap serious enough that a parliamentary committee has now formally urged the government to step in with additional support. Whether that specific proposal becomes reality remains to be seen, but the underlying problem it's responding to is real, it's documented, and it's affecting real people right now, not in some distant future. If you've made it this far, you now understand something that so many people approaching retirement are still finding out the hard way. This isn't just political noise. It's a genuine gap in support that thousands of people are living through right now, and staying informed about how it develops could make a real difference to how well prepared you are for it. Subscribe to stay updated as this story continues to unfold.